Hello, good day. So our topic for today is Home Development Fund, or known as Pagibig, and its benefit to its members. So what is Pagibig? Take note, there are four mandatory deduction in our payroll. So these are BIR, PhilHealth, and these two are considered as expense because at the end of our working years, we don't have to get anything or any amount from these two. However, for Pag-ibig and for our SSS, so Pag-ibig, you will be able to get all your contribution in lump sum together with the interest when you retire on your working period. Whereas for SSS, you will be able to get some pensions. Okay, so now let's proceed and go to our next topics. So our learning objective for this one is number one, to determine who can be the member of Pag-ibig Fund and how much is the fund contribution. What are the benefits of its member? And then when is the fund withdrawable? Who can be a member of HDMF? So number one, all employees who are or ought to be covered by the Social Security System are also known our private entity employees or government insurance system or our government employees. However, they should not be more than 60 years of age and if they are a household helper, earning at least 1,000 a month. So our self-employed individuals should also be not more than 60 years of age, and YouTubers should usually fall under this category because we are self-employed by the YouTuber catering our concept and our ability to the entity, which is the YouTube. So our Filipino seafarer and OFW would also or can also be a member of HDMF. An expatriate who are not more than 60 years of age, these are our Filipino consultant or foreign consultant working here and outside the Philippines. So Filipino employees of a foreign government, so these are the U.S. Embassy or international organizations such as our UNICEF, World Health, so this could also be covered by HDMF. And lastly, those that are not working spouse. So when does the membership with the fund begin? So normally, the membership start upon the remittance of the first payment. So guys, take note, when our payroll is deducted by our Pag-ibig contribution, we are not yet automatic member of Pag-ibig. Instead, when such money was being remitted by our employer to Pag-ibig. So for us who are also self-employed as YouTuber, when we pay to the remittance agency or to the Pag-ibig, then we already have our official receipt. Then that is the start of our membership with them. So how much should be the contribution? So normally the contribution is if you are earning 1,500 and below, 1% for the employee and 2% for the employer. So if you add those things, that would be 75 pesos for the for both. Whereas for over 1,000, it would be 2% for the employee and 2% for the employer. However, the maximum amount that can be contributed is only 100 pesos for each employee and employer. Okay? So what are the benefits of Pag-ibig Fund? So number one, that would be Calamity Loan. Take note, Calamity Loan are loan offered to member who need financial help because they may have lost their source of income or suffered a financial burden as a result of the pandemic or natural calamities and alike. So take note, people who are experience calamity during this period, like for example, the recent Typhoon Rolly, wherein Cavite has been declared as state of calamity, could avail this loan. However, guys, as from our previous video, if you would remember, I told you that do some loan only when you are in need of this because these things usually have interest and interest was quite higher. So if you would not be needing this loan, don't don't avail it. Or if you were just going to do this for leisure, don't avail it. Next, you also have the multipurpose loan. Multipurpose loan are loan provided to bridge the financial of your member in times when your salary falls short, just like other government loans. So for example, your SSS salary loan is almost the same as the multipurpose loan, which are loan provided so that you would be able to pay tuition fees, or anything that are needed to be paid within the means. However, as the same as calamity loan, I am not asking you to avail this loan because this has a higher interest more than its calamity loan. Then you also have the housing loan. This housing loan is the one that I could recommend for you to do instead of going to banks because Pag-ibig loans has a lesser interest and a longer period to pay. Besides, there is no termination fee when you do housing loan and able to pay it not on the exact period you wanted it. Like for example, if you avail a 30-year loan amortization and you were able to pay it in 10 years, there is no termination fee. Whereas for bank, there are some termination fee. And lastly, we also have the savings. So take note because these savings are the future benefits that we could get from Pag-ibig when we are about to retire. Because all the money we had contributed with the Pag-ibig together with our employer will be able to give back to us together with its interest. And take note, Pag-ibig savings have compounded interest. So according to Warren Buffett, this is one of the most effective means for us to get richer because our money is working for us. Because it was saved and yet there are some earning for us. Unlike when we put it on our piggy bank, it does not earn earnings and yet it is affected by the inflation rate. And then lastly, the loyalty card. This is a recent benefit given by Pag-ibig to a member. It's like an RD card, but a loyalty card because it has some perks wherein you could avail some discount or some previous to the partner agency of these institutions. Okay, so what are the requirements of calamity loan? So number one, if there is a declaration of the state of calamity, just like what happened in Cavite. Remember, Cavite already declared a state of calamity. So therefore, members residing in Cavite could now avail calamity loan. So there should be 24 monthly contribution. It does not state whether it is consecutive or not. So I presume as long as you have 24 months of contribution, regardless if it's staggered or not consecutively, as long as you reach 24 contribution, you will be allowed to do the calamity loan. Next, proof of income. So proof of income could be your ITR, your compensation withholding tax or the BIR form 2316. For those who are under passive income, your proof of bank deposit and its earning. For those who are into rentals, your ITR also. For those who are in foreign investment, there could be some additional requirement like the consul and anything that would prove that you have the money to pay for the loan. And then the calamity loan forms. You could download this with Pag-ibig or you could go to their office to get this one. However, take note that this is the allowed loan could only be 80% of the total Pag-ibig regular saving. So, if you are already quite of a lengthy service, then you will be able to get quite bigger amount. But if you are only 2 years, so if we would multiply that, that's only 4.8 and only 80% of 4.8. Okay? So, take note, see, the interest imposed is 5.95 per annum. However, this is at least cheaper than the usual bank loan. And the processing is 1 to 3 weeks. So, multipurpose loan, as we said, these are to augment our future money for our future expenses. But take note, I don't recommend you to do this loan for leisures, for buying of things that would earn you because these still have interest. So, same, 24 monthly contribution. The 24 monthly contribution does not state whether it is consecutive or not. So, must pay at least 6 months before the application. But this one should be consecutive. So, therefore, before you could do some multi-purpose loan, you should have paid at least consecutive 6 months of the contribution before its application. Next, proof of income. We already discussed proof of income. Updated payment of other loans. Like, for example, if you do have housing loan and calamity loan, it should be updated. Once there are some defaults, then you cannot avail the multipurpose loan. Photocopies of 2 photos or IDs bearing signature. So take note that for this one, you should have the legal IDs that are allowed in the banks are also the same that is being accepted by Pag-ibig, like your PRC ID, your company ID, your passport, your postal ID, or anything that is allowed here in the Philippines. Next, still, it's only 80% of the total Pag-ibig regular savings. Take note, it's regular savings. So, MP2 is not part of the regular savings. And see, the interest imposed is fixed at 10.75% per annum. Sometimes this is higher than the bank. Okay, so processing days is 1 to 2 weeks. So before doing this, you should compare to see which has the higher or the lower interest of the loan that you need to do. Okay, and then of course the multipurpose application form. So now we go to the housing loan eligibility, because for sure many of us would wanted this one because the housing loan of Pag-ibig is quite less stricter than the bank. Okay, because for this one, there's no need for collateral because what you are already being put as collateral is the housing loan that you are paying or you are buying. Because when you apply for this one, in the future, when you already have the TCT, you will have to put on the TCT an addendum that Pag-ibig would have a claim in case you will be able to sell the house. Okay, so same, at least 24 months. It does not state whether it's consecutive or not. Next, the member should not be more than 65 years of age at the date of loan and not more than 70 when the loan matures. Okay. So what else? So we have the housing loan application with the recent ID of the borrower or co-borrower. Take note that the co-borrower is being used to augment the amount that Pag-ibig loan will allow for you to lend. Like for example, if you are earning only 30,000 and you wanted a higher loan, and since the value or the amount of the loan is not covered by your income, then you had to go for a co-borrower so that both of your name would appear on the uh, TCT or the title, so that you would be able to augment the income because Pag-ibig now would consider the joint income of the two of you. Okay, proof of income, we already discussed. Valid ID, the same valid ID being used. The TCT or the transfer certificate of title. Because usually when Pag-ibig already approved that, you will go to the registry of deed to put some addendum or some more telling them or having people to know that when anyone would sell this property, they would know that Pag-ibig has claim over this property at certain amount of being loaned. Okay? So, an updated tax declaration and updated real estate tax receipts. So, tax declaration is you could get this to the assessor's office because some of people, here you will be able to see zonal value and its city value. For the updated real estate tax, because normally people are not paying their tax regularly, but these should be paid by the owner, not the buyer. Although most of the time people would just talk so that the value would be lesser. So if you were into constructions, so you have the building plans, the specification, bill of material duly signed by licensed civil engineer or architect. So you need to have the plans if you are into buying or you are the one who would constructing your own land. Okay? But if you are into a real estate developer, there will be the one doing this for you. Next, you should also have the vicinity map or the sketch of the property. Why? Because normally, a Pag-ibig officer would check out the property to know if this property is eligible or not. Or the value would be, or how much is the assessed value of this property or the fair market value of this property. Is it allowed under the Pag-ibig or not? Next, you should have to pay a non-refundable processing fee of 1,000. So this would cover, the 1,000 would cover for the people who are processing your paper and for the people who would check the vicinity of the place. Because if you were into construction, Pag-ibig would just give a staggered money for each of the construction depending on what of the construction in progress amount is. Okay? Next, so proof of income. These are usually a notarized certificate of employment on compensation, the amount of compensation, the latest ITR. For self-employed, it should be the bank statement or passbook for the past 12 months. For OFW, your employment contract, the ITR, filed in your host country or government, because OFW, I guess, is non-taxable, and then the special power of attorney in case you are not the one who will be processing your paper, or you, for example, if it's your spouse, or, because here in the Philippines, nobody could sell a property not under their name unless there is a special power of attorney. Okay? So how to withdraw our savings? Because take note, guys, we have our savings with the Pag-ibig. So there are two investment. Number one is the regular saving program, is convenient and government guarantee saving facility that gives a high annual dividend earning. So save more and then earn more in dividend, higher dividend. But take note, the contribution and the dividend could only be withdrew when the following, when what we would discuss in the following slide. Okay? So we also have the special savings facility or MP2. This one has the maturity of 5 years. But take note, you shouldn't put some of your money that you need with this one because you cannot withdraw it for 5 years. Why 5 years? Because these are tax-exempt investment. So we are in the Philippines. If you invest in money or invest in bank or any investment facilities in 5 years or longer, then it become now non-taxable. Because if you would check in your savings account, if you earn like for 100, if you earn 100 pesos, there is a tax under passive income of 20% if it's 1 year or less. If it's 2 years, I guess it's a little bit lower. So the higher the period your money is there in there, the lesser the tax. But take note, you also have to check the inflation rate because sometimes the value put in your alkansya, the plate, because the candy today was not the candy before. Like during my days, I guess the candy was not yet 1 peso. Like 3 for 2 pesos, something like that. But nowadays, it's only 1 peso. So see the value of our money each year becomes a little bit lower because of the inflations. Okay? So like for example, previously when I was still studying, I guess the fare is like 350 minimum, but now it's almost 10 pesos. So these are what I am telling you about the inflation. Hence, you should invest your money in something that would yield dividends or that would yield interest, not the one that would not yield interest. Because if you just put this on these piggy banks, just like the value of it gets lower every year. Hence the interest would be a hedge for this inflation rates. Okay? So how much is the dividend? So normally the past year the dividend is 7.65%. And take note, this is quite higher with the bank because for the bank it's normally the highest, I guess, is 1%. And for time deposits, I guess it's ranging from 1 to 5%. But guys, please do check because I am not so sure if there is some increase or decrease with the dividend, because as a lot of people have savings, the dividend gets a little bit lower. And when people don't save too much, the dividend gets a little bit higher. So it's still the law of demand and supply. Okay? So occasion when it is withdrawable. So number one, you may withdraw your Pag-ibig savings plan when the following occur. Number one, when the membership maturity after 20 years. So if you are already contributing within 20 years, then you could now withdraw your savings. But guys, if you don't need it, I guess it's better that this contribution stays with Pag-ibig Why? Because Pag-ibig gave quite a higher yield and a compounded interest rate. So one of the, in our previous lesson, um, about the 7 laws of money, it states that the year and the compounding interest is a better vehicle for us to earn or to teach our centavo to earn a little bit higher for us. Next, when your retirement at optional of 60 or 65, which is the mandatory here in the Philippines, so take note that the higher the period it stay in there, the higher it roll. So it would accumulate more money for you. Next, separation from service due to health reason or permanent departure from the country. So, example, here in the Philippines, we are still allowed dual citizen. But if you already um, detached from being a Filipino citizen, so you could also withdraw this Pag-ibig. But if you still have the money, don't do it because take note that this interest is compounding. So, permanent or total disability or insanity. So, upon death, in which case his legal years that will receive the TAB plus the additional death benefits. Okay? So, critical illness. So, take note, Pag-ibig also provides some death benefits. And then, critical illness, any immediate family, as long as there is a certificate of a licensed physician. Okay, so how to withdraw? So, first, you need to have the application form for the provident benefit claims. So, you should have original ID or the loyalty card. Guys, if you don't have the loyalty card, please avail because there are some perks or discount for this one. And then, and one valid ID. So, for those who are without the loyalty card, you should have the valid ID. However, the valid ID should has your date of birth. If not, you need to provide an additional document, which is your authenticated birth certificate or the PSA birth certificate. So, additional for retirement, if you are retiring from a private company who are less at least 45 years of age, then you should have an authorized certificate of early retirement. For government, you should have the GSIS voucher, so your claim that you are already availed optional retirement. Next, how to withdraw for a permanent disability, insanity, or termination by reason of health. So, of course, you need to have the certificate of your physicians or the clinical abstract of such, so that it would to prove the authenticity of the disability. Next, for critical illness of a member of any immediate family. So take note if your one of your family member is in also in need of this money, you could also withdraw this month, this amount or the savings. But you should also have to provide a certificate of the physician. Next, and to prove the relationship with the Pag-ibig member. So here in the Philippines, the immediate family are only after fourth consanguinity. So meaning it could be your mom, your parents, or the children. And so with your brothers and sisters. So these are the immediate family. So for permanent departure of the country, so your passport, your immigrant, and your settlement visa. So for example, if you wanted to left the Philippines and reside permanently to Australia, then you could show that and then tell them that you need to withdraw your money. For those who are still based in the Philippines, sworn declaration of intention to depart from the Philippines permanently. So for that, you have to have the death certificate. However, only immediate family should be the one who will getting the proof of the surviving years notarized. So these two for that. Okay, that's it. So if you do have any questions, please just comment it below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So hopefully you like this video. Please help me reach out more people by hitting the subscribe button below. God bless you all. And take note as again, if you have any question with regard to this one, just comment below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Bye!